I hope you're doing alright out there. Welcome to Box on the Box, Rock and Celluloid. So a bit of rock today. Going to talk about one of my favourite ever bands and a run through their albums from 71 through to 82, and that is glam rock legends, The Sweet. So The Sweet form, originally called Sweet Shop, back in 68, 69. I think Brian Connolly and I think it's Mick Tucker are in that band. Steve Priest joins later, and eventually Andy Scott. And I can't remember when they changed their name to The Sweet, but they basically come into contact with a manager called Phil Wainwright, and he introduces them to Nicky Chin and Mike Chapman. And the upshot of this is that they agree, because they're great players, to be the front for Chin and Chapman's songs, I guess. And they will get to write some of their own original stuff, which will eventually or will become kind of famous B-sides. Later on they will do all their own stuff. So initially there's always that kind of accusation, the Sweet are kind of manufactured. They're not. They've been playing on the scene. They'd all been around for a good few years, each musician. It's just they were offered an opportunity, I guess, to get backing in that respect. So it's a mutual benefit. Okay, so the first album, Funny How Sweet Coco Can Be, there we go. This originally had 12 tracks on it. It's back at the front, I know. 12 tracks. This is a double disc, and it's got lots of bonus tracks, and it actually has a lot of the early singles on as well. So if you can get a copy, it's a 22 track copy. This is the one to get. There's another one going around that's only 13. So basically tracks on this, it's very bubblegum pop. So it's like a lot of stuff of that time. It's designed for the pop charts. There's not much rock about it, but there is some good stuff. It starts off with Coco, which is a single, which I'm not fussed about. And then there's Chop Chop, which is just, fairly poor. But then there's a cover of a Motown classic, I forget the name of the band, but it's Reflections. Really suits Brian Connolly's voice. Like I said, not very rock, but good. Honeysuckle Love, that's a catchy track, catchy bubblegum one. And Santa Monica Sunshine. So there's a little run of 3 nice tracks there. Then there's Daydream, which is not great. Then Funny Funny, which was a bit of a hit for them. That's catchy. Not fussed about Tom Tom Turnaround, Genie, or Sunny Sleeps Late. But the last 2 tracks kind of show where they might go. So Spotlight's written by the band. It's kind of almost like something they might do on Level Headed. And then there's Done Me Wrong Alright, and this is a proper, Spotlight's kind of got acoustic rock track. Then Done Me Wrong Alright is the last track. It's a proper rocker that. It's a proper this is how we really want to sound. Connolly's got a great rock voice. Andy Scott, very good guitar player. Steve Priest, solid as they come, with incredible backing vocals, which we'll come to more. And Mick Tucker, such an underrated drummer, really solid. I'd probably give this album kind of 5 out of 10. It's if you like The Sweet, it's got enough on there to like. The bonus tracks, there's a track called You're Not Wrong for Loving Me, which is nice. It's a B-side of Funny Funny, nice ballad. Alexander Graham Bell, top. Chin and Chapman track. Pop-Up Joe, Little Willie, brilliant. And Wigwam Bam, awesome, one of the great glam rock tracks. The track 20 is New York Connection, which is the B-side of Wigwam Bam, and this is where their legacy starts, I think, because people will go out and buy Wigwam Bam, flip it over and go, what the hell is this? Because it's proper heavy, it's proper Zeppelin, heavy. And this is where bands would start to get influenced by The Sweet from the heavier B-sides, and it'd make them check out other tracks. So, not an unauspicious start. The next album, there's actually a big gap. There's actually 3 years. It's 1974. Why is that? It's because they are principally a singles band, so they'll just, knock out singles, do a Chin and Chapman hit like Teenage Rampage, Ballroom Blitz. They do the B-side. That's the way it's going. That's the agreement. So they're in all the glam rock regalia on the front of this. This is the last year you'll get sort of imagery like this. With bands like Slade, The Sweet, T-Rex, Bowie. So this album's very good. Opens with Set Me Free, written by the band. It's a proto-metal classic, up-tempo, covered by Saxon. Brilliant Andy Scott solo. top drum intro by Mick Tucker. Then Heartbreak Today, good catchy track. No You Don't, I think Steve Priest might sing that, really good. Then one of my faves, Rebel Rouser, great track, love that. Peppermint Twist cover version, not as fussed about that. Sweet FA, if you check out on YouTube and playing Sweet FA live, it's heavy as fook, really good. Restless Into the Night, that's a good one. AC/DC. So what comes to the fore and has done on the singles is their ability with vocal harmonies. So to Sweet, one of those bands like Queen, and quite a bit of a band like Uriah Heep, is every member can sing. So Mick Tucker's got quite a decent lead vocal voice. Steve Priest's got a very good lead vocal voice. Andy Scott's got a good lead vocal voice. So when they come together, apparently they were inspired by the Hollies with their vocal harmonies. It sounds amazing, particularly Steve Priest's falsetto. His ability to hit high notes is amazing. So who came first? Well, I think this Sweet deserve credit. Uriah Heep's probably the first rock band to kind of do the more multi-tracked harmonies or have different voices. But the Sweet certainly predate Queen, by 73, 74. The Sweet are regularly doing big multi-track harmonies, and Queen don't really do it until Queen 2. But often it's the case with these things, the band that kind of invents the idea in rock isn't always the one that becomes successful, and I think Queen's blend of voices are probably more palatable in a way. So this is a great record, very good. Next one is 1975's Desolation Boulevard. This is the one that nearly breaks them in the States. It goes gold, I think. And they tour, another supported Deep Purple, I think, and Richie Blackmore was very impressed with Andy Scott's playing. It's a really good record as well. Opens with a 16s, classic, solid gold brass. Turn It Down, track 3. It's got a fantastic rhythm guitar at the start of that. Andy Scott's sound is just so bright, it's so on it, really good. Medusa, that's good. I think, did Andy Scott sing that? I'm not sure. No, Lady Starlight. So Lady Starlight's track 5. Andy Scott sings that. Track 6, Man with the Golden Arm, that's Mick Tucker does a drum solo in that. So if you watch footage of Mick Tucker, he does all the stick twirling and things like that. And I think that's where a lot of drummers have got their showmanship from. I'd imagine someone like Tommy Lee probably saw or watched footage of Mick Tucker when he was younger and thought, yeah, that's the way to go. So the guy's very influential. Track 7, absolute classic, Fox on the Run. Obviously that's written by the band and so good. And then Breakdown, which is okay, and then finishes a cover of My Generation. Again, you get bonus tracks on this, and you've got Teenage Rampage, and that's obviously a top single. Take a Look at Yourself, Burn on Flame, they're 2 really cool B-sides. And then Someone Else Will, which is one of my favourite tracks. It's off the B-side of Turn It Down. If you don't go down on a someone else will. Really good, really heavy, evil rocker. So, really good album again. Obviously things are changing now in music in the Sweet. After 75, they don't have any hits really. Well, they will have one in England. They're still popular in Germany and other parts of Europe. And they make what I think is their best album, which is 1976's Give Us a Wink. They go to Germany to Musicland Studios to record this. This is where Queen would go to do Hot Space and albums like that. And this is actually engineered by Reinhold Mack, or Mack for short, who co-produced a lot of later Queen stuff and did Extreme's debut album and various things like that. It's a great album. This opens with The Lies in Your Eyes, which I think is one of their all-time tracks. The backing vocals on the chorus on this are incredible. And the middle section, Steve Priest hits a note that just breaks the stratosphere. Then you got Cockroach, that's great, that's really heavy. Keep It In, catchy. And then 4th of July, again, a really catchy track. So that was side 1. Side 2 opens with Action. Loads of bands have covered it. Atomic Playboys, Def Leppard. Did Black and Blue do it? Anyway, there's no point because the Sweet version's incredible and you'll never equal it. Absolutely superb. They got Yesterday's Rain, which is another, I think that's one of Brian Connolly's greatest vocals actually. It's just a proper good rock vocal. Then you got White Mice. Back when I was younger, a friend used to sing in a band called Greedsville called Pete Turner. He made me a mixtape because he had all the albums. and White Mice was one of the tracks he put on that. I'm not sure I want to know what White Mice are, but anyway, it's a great track. And then it finishes with Healer, which is quite an interesting track, quite bluesy, but it's good. It just feels like it's got two cracking singles in Action and Lies in Your Eyes, but it just feels more like an album. I think up until this point, although I like Desolation Boulevard and Sweet Fanny Adams, they feel more like a collection of songs and not an album. So 77 they do Off the Record. So again, the stock's going down more now, but they're still popular in other parts of Europe. Again, this is a great record. Opens with Fever of Love, really good, really catchy track. I think that was probably a hit in Germany. Then Lost Angels, another sort of forgotten single, excellent. Midnight to Daylight, really good. Side 1, I think it's side 1, finished with Windy City. Now this track's epic, really heavy, and I remember when I was a kid, Tommy Vance played on the Friday Rock Show, and it was the only time I heard it, but it was so catchy, the riff, I could just always remember it. And when I heard the track again many years later, I still remembered that riff. So that's absolutely brilliant album track. Then you got Live for Today, which is good. She Give Me Lovin', excellent, amazing vocal production on this track. You know, doing the multi-track harmonies, it kind of phases through the mix. Steve Priest on Imperious Form. Laura Lee, lovely ballad, great vocal by Brian. Hard Times and Funk It Up, they're both pretty funky tracks. Not as good as Give Us a Wink, but still a very good album. And again, it feels like an album, a bit more experimental. Now, the next album, I don't have the next albums. Next one's Level Headed from 1978. This is, in principle, it's known, they changed label to Polydor, I think. But it's got Love Is Like Oxygen on, which is a big hit for them and gets them back in the charts. And that's probably the first exposure I had to the Sweet when I was a kid, because I was only 7. But again, when I heard the track later on, I still remembered it. That album, it's got, I think it's a track called Silver Bird on, Fountain. It's good, it's kind of a little more progressive in places, some kind of acoustic sort of sounds on it that kind of hark back to the debut album, that track. I was talking about before. Hold on a second, I'm just going to remember what that track was called. Spotlight, yeah. You know, that acoustic sound that track had. So, I mean, I've listened to it a few times on YouTube. I keep looking for a copy, but I don't like the cover. I want the American cover. It's kind of 6 out of 10. You know, I'd say the Give Us a Wink's like 8 or 9. Off the Record's an 8. Sweet Fanny Adams, Desolation Boulevard, 7, 8, you know. So things are kind of, you know, going the wrong way for them, but it's still decent. After this, Sally Brian Connolly leaves due to his alcoholism, and the 3 albums they do after that, I think there's Cut Above the Rest, Water's Edge, and what's it called? I've forgotten the title of it. There we go. Sorry. Anyway, that's 1979, 1980, 82. But by then, it's just the 3 of them. And so Steve Priest does a lot of the singing, and he's a very good singer. So I have had a listen to those albums. There's some good songs. It's just by then they've sort of lost their way a bit. It hasn't got the classic Sweet sound. They're sort of flirting more with pop and like what's going to happen in the 80s, but it just never really gets there because they, you know, they split up. What happens after that is they do reform for gigs. Not great, but they're kind of splitting. Brian Connolly has his own suite. I think Andy Scott does. Brian Connolly dies in 1997, and Mick Tucker 2002. And at that point, Steve Priest and Andy Scott, they must agree. Steve Priest, he lives in America and he has his own version of the suite in America, and Andy Scott has his own version over here in Europe. Sadly, Steve Priest died as well recently, so Andy Scott's the last original member left. But he has his own version of the suite. I guess you could say it's the official suite now. You know, Uriah Heep got out with one original member. Why not the suite? He's got a guy from Cats in Space on vocals. I think the guy from Lionheart, Steve Mann from Lionheart, plays with him. I think another guy from Lionheart might on bass. Either way, he's got it covered. When you watch him online, the vocals sound great. They can reproduce the Sweet sound live, and they're playing a lot of deep cuts and rocking hard. I have tickets for next December. Whether it'll go ahead, we'll see. But I hope to see them and hope to see Andy Scott, because that's the only time I'm going to get to see this. Just to finish off, the first time I got into the Sweet was my brother bought a compilation called Sweet 16 on Chiswick Records, I think it was, back in 1984. It's got a picture of a girl in a bedroom and sweets around the side. But what's interesting is a lot of Sweet compilations out there, but I think this one was great sequencing. It was just cherry picked, because it was on vinyl. It had 8 tracks aside, so it didn't have more tracks than you needed. And what I would do is, there's other compilations out there, but if you've got the proper albums, have a look for Sweet 16 online and get a track listing and rip yourself a CD. And the sequencing on that is great, and that's their best compilation, but it's never been reissued on CD. So like I say, yeah, that's a good thing to do. Copy the track sequencing from Sweet 16, and it's really good. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. That was my tour through the Sweet. Sorry for forgetting that album. I forgot to put Wikipedia on, and I can't remember it now. Like I say, Cut Above the Rest, Water's Edge, Identity Crisis. There we are. Now, is that one 1982 or is it 1982? Anyway, see ya.